Hello friends, happy holidays. One of my favorite parts of the holidays is making cookies. I remember back when I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do was to bake cookies with my grandma. And she worked in a bakery and knew all the tricks of the trade. And one of my favorite gifts that she gave me was when I was about 8 years old. She gave me a set of cookie cutters with cutters for all the different seasons of the year. And she also gave me a cake decorating kit so that I could decorate the cookies using the tools of the trade and also use my creativity to enhance the process. One of our favorite things to do was to bake cookies together and cakes and decorate cakes for all the birthdays and family get-togethers and Christmas, special things for each holiday celebration. Today we're going to read stories about baking cookies, and I wanted to show you some of the old cookie cutters from my family. This one's really a fun one, and it reminds me of the Gingerbread Friends book with the gingerbread baby and his friend the rooster. I also have some old ones that had wooden handles. How fun is that? Here's Santa, and we've got a spade, and of course, Oh Christmas Tree. And we have silver bells, and the holly and the ivy, and hearts for love that is exchanged through the gift of cookies that we make for family and friends. We have the star for that magic night, Christmas night, when that special star shone in the sky, and all kinds of special cookie cutters that have been passed down from generation to generation in my family. That's what makes this time of year so special. It's reliving those special times with family and friends. Another fun thing that was passed down in our family is a very important tool to making cookies and pies. This is a nice rolling pin from back in the 1800s. It came from Mondovi, Wisconsin, which is very close to where Laura Ingalls Wilder grew up in the big woods. So this one is made of clay and painted on, kind of like Jan Brett puts in her illustrations. So I thought you would enjoy seeing one of my favorite family heirlooms. And it's very heavy, and that was useful for rolling out that thick cookie dough. It's very stiff dough because it has so much flour and it's usually chilled to help make those forms. I also wanted to show you some of the ingredients, gifts of Mother Earth, that allow us to make these special cookies this time of year and the whole year round. So one of the things with gingerbread cookies and gingerbread cake is all those miraculous, wonderful, healing, exotic spices that came from faraway places on ships from rainforests around the world. So here's one of my favorite spices. This is ginger. This is what we call a ginger root. And I always think it reminds me of the palm of a hand. This rhizome grows underground and then the plant grows above and gets flowers on it. So this ginger root is a very, very important healing spice that can help to, fight germs in our body. It's a really important spice for if you have an upset stomach. It settles your stomach. They make ginger ale and ginger tea. Also helps to regulate your blood sugar and your heart health and fight disease in our bodies. These spices seem very exotic, but they're so important to the good health of all that live on our planet. And we can use these spices in savory dishes and also in sweet dishes like our gingerbread. Such a yummy spice. I like to use this special tool it's a microplane. And you can see it looks like a rasp, and we can peel off that skin on the outside and then just run that across and collect that beautiful fresh ginger to make our dishes in the house. We can also use this really neat rasp tool for grating cheese, grating chocolate, grating the rind on citrus fruits like this orange. That citrus peel is full of vitamin C and really makes everything taste so delicious. So we're going to talk about this in just a second. So this is one of my favorite modern kitchen tools. Another thing that we use, one of our favorite spices, here's the ground ginger that we often use for cooking, dried ginger that we use in gingerbread cookies. Another one of our favorite spices is cinnamon. We love that wonderful aroma of cinnamon. We like to put cinnamon sticks in our hot apple cider or in tea. But did you know that cinnamon is also a really healthy thing for our body? It actually helps to keep our heart healthy and beating regularly. I think that's amazing. It also fights germs and diseases in our body, and it adds that wonderful aroma, wakes up our brains so that we can think more clearly. It's a win-win-win any way you look at it. And it too can be used both as a sweet and savory ingredient. This is actually the bark of a tree. And so it's really amazing to think of all the gifts that Mother Earth shares with us. So here's our cinnamon, and oftentimes cinnamon will be boiled in different water or teas or beverages to enhance the aromas of the house. We can make mulled ciders and things like that. We can drink it, but it also makes our house smell delicious. And we can use the ground cinnamon as well. You know, cinnamon was once considered a gift for people that were kings and queens of the royal court. Isn't it amazing that we can enjoy all the bounty of Mother Earth for a very reasonable price? Another amazing spice that we can have that is called cloves. These are cloves, and they're the flower buds off of a plant. And they are very, very strong. This is what they look like. They look like little tiny brown nails, but they're actually the flower bud off that tree. And they have a very, very strong smell. A little goes a long way. But I was reading about these cloves, and they are so healthy for our bodies. They fight bacteria, they fight germs, they fight cancer, they help to keep our blood sugar and our internal organs inside our body healthy and clean and strong. And, you know, that strong smell purifies the air in our house. Back in the olden days, when they didn't have indoor plumbing and that, people would make these pomanders. And this is something fun that you can do too. They'd take an orange. A lot of kids would get an orange for Christmas morning. It was a very, very special treat. And they would take the little clove and poke it in there and make little patterns. And they would hang them or carry them around to purify the air and make some of the bad smells not so noticeable. Oftentimes they would even float something like this in a pot of warm cider to add flavor to the ciders that they would drink. They could also put ribbons on and hang them around in their house until they were ready to eat them. It was a very, very fun way for kids to help decorate the home. And I have to tell you, it smells so wonderful with the cloves and the fresh orange smell. This time of year, we can find those little cuties in the store, and they are a tasty way to make pomanders and then enjoy that delicious vitamin C that comes in the form of our citrus fruit. So another thing about cloves that's really amazing to me is it has been used for the health inside your mouth too. When I was young and I had to have my wisdom teeth taken out, they made clove oil and they put it on my gums and inside my mouth to fight bacteria and help my wounds heal quicker. So, gifts of Mother Earth, natural medicines that people have used for thousands of years to keep their bodies and their families and neighbors healthy. Very important back in those days when they didn't have modern medicines. Food and spices and herbs were medicine. So really an amazing gift of Mother Earth. And here's an amazing, one of our favorite spices. It's called nutmeg, and it's the little nut off the nutmeg tree. The outer part of the nutmeg nut is a spice called mace, and then this is the nutmeg itself, and this is what I use. I grate it on that rasp to add flavor to a lot of different types of dishes. You can see this one I've used quite a bit. It just adds such a wonderful aroma, and it's been used just like the other spices for medicinal purposes, many of the same types of health benefits. So what a wondrous way to get good health in such a tasty way. But with nutmeg and these other spices, a little bit of spice goes a long way. You can actually have too much of these spices if you would just try to eat them. They're usually just added into other foods as a flavor to enhance the flavor. So here's some ground up nutmeg. Sometimes people would have little grinders like this and they'd put nutmegs or cloves or cinnamons, parts of cinnamon sticks, or peppers or pepper or allspice berries, and they would grind it and collect it to add into their foods. Another really cool spice is allspice, that allspice berry. Where did my allspice berries go? They're here somewhere. Whole allspice. Now, if you eat a lot of pickles, oftentimes you'll see these little allspice berries in the pickle brine. They can be used for savory and sweet dishes too. And just like all these other spices, they are healing for your body. They are the dried, unripe berries of that tree. So really an amazing way to get a lot of flavor. And the reason they call it allspice is it tastes like a combination of all these other spices. You can also buy it all ground up like this. Another one of our favorite flavors this time of year is vanilla, and that comes from the vanilla bean. We see this big bean pod that comes from a type of orchid plant that grows in the rainforest. Inside these pods are thousands of little seeds that taste so delicious. So very creamy, delicious way to add flavor to our favorite desserts. Another thing that's a very important part of gingerbread is candied orange or lemon peel, and we can go buy it all made up like this. They dry the rind and they put layers of sugar and then let it dry, and it adds a chewy, citrusy flavor. Here's a container with pineapple in it. Other ingredients that we use a lot this time of year are nuts and seeds. Remember, this is winter time now when we're baking a lot of these dishes, and we've harvested nuts and seeds to use all winter long, and we've dried fruits like these craisins, and oftentimes people would get cherries and berries and dried apples that they would use all winter long. But sometimes at Christmas time, you would get to use some of these exotic ingredients like dates that came from across the ocean to be enjoyed here. But one of the favorite ingredients with Christmas baking is marzipan. Marzipan is made from ground up almonds, finely ground. Those are the almonds that we like to eat. And you can see these still have their husk on them. Sometimes they slice them very thin like this, slivered almonds. But then they would use this special tool like this. This is what we call a nut grinder. We would put those little almonds inside. This was always my favorite job, was taking nuts and grinding them up in this nut grinder, and to make cookies and things like that. So we would just put a few nuts in the top and then grind them. Oh, look at that. And you can see the nuts get all ground out. It was one of my favorite things to do, and it's one of my special memories of childhood. But now that we have really fine food processors and things, we can grind the almonds into almond flour, and that's used to make marzipan and also used to make special cakes and desserts, using almond flour as one of the ingredients or the only flour in the recipe. It adds a lot of delicious flavor, so healthy. In Denmark, they make little marzipan pigs at Christmas time, and they put it in their rice pudding for a Christmas Eve dinner. For whoever gets the pig gets a special surprise. So it's a very fun ingredient that's incorporated into a lot of traditions around the world. Let's see. I was going to show you these special clay tiles that are used for pressing cookies. You know, I showed you cookie cutters, but back in the olden days when they first started doing gingerbread, a lot of times they would carve a gingerbread or kings and queens or whatever out of wood, and they'd press the gingerbread dough into that. And it became a very important part of their family history. They would also create tiles like this made out of clay, and you would press the dough into the shape and then bake it like that. So lots of fun ways that we have gifts from Mother Earth. And of course, any way that we make our gingerbread cakes and cookies and breads, we love to decorate them and put special fancy colored sugars and candies and sprinkles. And one last special ingredient in our gingerbread is molasses, and that's the boiled root of the sugar cane that's boiled down and has a very intense flavor. That's what makes them so brown colored. You also have brown sugar in there too, but molasses was used as an important source of vitamins and minerals because the roots of the plants were underground, and so they took up a lot of those minerals from the soil, and it was very healthy to have a little molasses every day for good health. So I brought along a little book today. We're going to read several books today, but this one's called Who Put the Cookies in the Cookie Jar? And I thought this is a fun little new version of who took the cookie from the cookie jar. So this book will help us understand where the different parts of things came from to make the cookies that we all enjoy so much. In my family, I'm known as the Million Cookie Mom because I've spent my whole life from a very young age baking cookies for my family and friends. When I made my dad's lunch every day, I would put in about a dozen cookies for him for his lunch bucket. So I love to bake cookies for all my family and friends. So let's find out who put the cookies in the cookie jar. And look at all these fun, festive, different types of cookies we can make. One hand in the cookie jar takes a cookie out. I wonder which one. How many hands put the cookie in? is what the world's about. So all around the world, people enjoy cookies, a nice sweet treat. Hands that mix and stir the dough, spoon the clumps in a row. Looks like my Pippi there. Hands that make the cookie sheet. Do you ever think about the people that help to make the tools that we use to make our cookies? I'm thankful for the people that make our kitchen tools. Oven mitts against the heat. Look at this nice lady is sewing oven mitts to keep our hands from getting burned. Thank you. Hands that feed and milk the cow. Thanks to Mrs. Cow's good milk, we have ingredients for our cookies too. But the farmers take care of the cows so that we can use their gifts that they share. So thank those farmers every day. Churn the butter. Look at that. They pour that cream in there and agitate it, and it becomes that butter that we can use as an ingredient to make our cookies. Now they're guiding the plow to plant the fields with grains that will become flour. And don't forget about our bee buddies. Without our bee buddies, the world would never be the same. Thank you, bee buddies, for your gift of pollination. And honey, too. Honey cookies are delish. Hands that sow and grind the wheat. Here we see a wheat stalk, and up here are those little wheat seeds, what we call grains, that are ground up. See here, they're grinding up those grains to make flour, into flour for us to eat. Sometimes it's a different type of grain. Maybe it's a grain like corn or a grain like oats. We use all of those grains in our cookies too. Sometimes even dried rice grains are made into rice flour. And of course, we just saw our almonds being made into flour. Hands that tend and feed the hens. Look at all those beautiful hens. Gather eggs, build the pens. All of these jobs were done by this family to allow the hens to have a home where they can lay their eggs that are used in so many ways, but are often an ingredient in cookies too. Hands that harvest sugar cane, cut and grind, load the train. So here we see those fields full of sugar cane. They cut that cane, it's very tall, and look at, they put the canes into this press and squeeze out all that juice. And then they dry it and they send it off to be sold at stores. But then remember, the roots of the sugar cane are boiled into molasses syrup. That's a special kind of sugar that we add to our cookies. Hands that load the trucks and drive. I'm so thankful for all the truck drivers that carry all the ingredients all around our country so that we have food to eat. They deliver it to our grocery stores. They do very, very hard work. Stock the shelves when things arrive. So now the workers in the store go and unload those trucks, and now they're putting all the foods on the shelves or in the freezer cases or refrigerator cases to keep the food fresh and safe and clean until we buy it and take it home to use it. Grocery stores give us such a wondrous abundance of food, such a gift. Hands that clothe and feed them all, heal and teach, large and small. Hands that help, the hands that help are what the world's all about. Look at all around the world, people holding hands, working together so that we can enjoy a beautiful cookie. Many put the cookie in so one can take it out. Boy, look at all those wonderful cookies. This time of year, there's so much variety. I wonder which one I would like to taste first. I love cherries, so I'm thinking I might want to try this one right here. Which one will you choose?